Welcome to multiple choice questions. In this lecture, first we'll be looking at how multiple choice questions show up on the AP Computer Science test. Then we'll be looking at some guidelines for approaching multiple choice questions and how they work in the AP Computer Science test. And then after that, we'll be finishing off by doing one practice question just to get a general idea of how multiple choice questions look on the test. So let's start off by understanding how multiple choice questions are when they show up on the AP Computer Science test. So with the AP Computer Science test, we get 40 questions. So 40 questions on the AP Computer Science test, and you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete these 40 questions. So you have a little bit like a minute and a half per question, and that's kind of a good amount. So you should understand the questions and know them well and not spend too much time on one question specifically. And it carries 50% of the weight of your final results. So there's two components, as you may know, multiple choice and free response. So both the multiple choice and the free response have an equal weightage. So now let's look at some guidelines specifically for approaching multiple choice questions on the AP Computer Science test. The most important thing, I think, for multiple choice questions or any type of question on the AP Computer Science test is to think logically. With the AP Computer Science test, it's not a test of just your Java programming skills. It's more a test of your logic. How does your mind work inside? How do you understand the different steps in a process and what the output will be? So there's a lot of type of things like what will an output be? Like they'll show you a for loop or an if statement or anything like that. And they'll show you a control structure. Or maybe they'll show you a class or inheritance. And they'll ask you what will be the output of this. And you'll be evaluating a lot of methods and classes. And they'll be testing the concepts. So you've learned so many different concepts from control structures to inheritance, polymorphism, recursion. All of these concepts are going to be tested now. They could give you a recursive method and ask you, what will this recursive method output? Or they could give you a for loop and ask you, will this for loop work? Or what do we need to do to a for loop? And things like that. So that's what multiple choice does. It tests these concepts by giving you live situations. So now that we kind of understand how multiple choice comes along on the AP Computer Science test, let's look at one practice question to understand exactly how a sample question might look. And this question is I've picked up directly from College Board. So the question goes, for int k equals 0, k is less than 20, k equals k plus 2. So that's, as we know right there, that's a for loop, and we recognize that very well. And then what we have inside of it is, inside of this for loop, we have an if statement. So if k modulus 3 equals 1, then system.out.print k plus space semicolon. So now the question is, what is printed as a result of executing this code statement? Now, as you can see, the potential answers are displayed below. But for the purpose of this question, we're going to ignore the potential answers. And first, we're going to try to figure this out ourselves. Because a lot of times, not looking at the multiple choice question can help you a lot. Because you know that you're getting the exact answer rather than having to guess by thinking of what choice looks most likely to be correct. So basically what we see is happening over here is we see that we're starting with k is equal to 0. And every time we're checking if k is less than 20. And after if k is less than 20, then we'll execute the body of the for loop. And then we'll increase k's value by 2 because k equals k plus 2. So this is basically testing our knowledge of the control structure and a couple other things as well. So let's walk through this step by step. So when this loop starts running, we have k is equal to 0. So when k is equal to 0, the computer will check, is 0 less than 20? And because 0 is less than 20, it will execute the body of this for loop. So then we'll say if 0 modulus 3. So now this is something that's very, very important. And that is, you need to remember what the percent sign or what function it has. And if you recall from earlier, we went over that the percent sign is also known as the modulus. And basically what it does is it gives the remainder. So k divided by 3, whatever the remainder of that is, that's what it's trying to check. It's trying to check if you know what the remainder of So basically what the modulus does is, let's say we did 4 modulus 3. Basically, when you divide 4 by 3, what will the remainder be? So 4 divided by 3 gives us a remainder of 1. So 4 modulus 3 is equal to 1. And similarly, that's the function of the modulus. So we're saying that if 0 modulus 3, so what is 0 modulus 3? 0 divided by 3 leaves us with a remainder of 3. If 0 modulus 3 equals 1. So we know that 0 modulus 3 is actually equal to 3, and 3 does not equal 1. And hence, the body of the if statement will not be executed. And after the if statement, there's nothing else. So now the one run of the for loop has been complete. Then what happens is we see k equals k plus 2. So now what happens is k's value is increased by 2 this time. So what we do now is, now k's value is equal to 4. No, sorry, k's value was originally 0, and now k's value is 2. So again, we check 2 is less than 20. That comes to be true, so we execute the body again. If 2 modulus 3 is equals 1. So 2 divided by 3 gives us a remainder of 3 again. So we don't execute the body of the if statement. And again, we've completed one more iteration of the for loop. So now k is equal to 2, and we're going to increase its value by 2 again. So now k has a value of 4. 4 is less than 20. That is true. So 4 is less than 20. So now we're going to say if 4 modulus 3, 4 divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1. So if 4 modulus 3 equals 1. So we know that it does in fact equal 1. So then we're going to execute the body of this if statement. So we're saying if 4 modulus 3 equals 1, so that's true. So now we're going to say system.out.println print 4 plus a space. So we're going to print out the number 4, and then we're going to print out a space. So now we know that the first thing that's been printed out is a 4. And next, now what we're going to do is, now that the for loop iteration has finished, now we're going to increase the value of k again by 2. So now it goes from 4 to 6. So now the value of k is 6. So we check, is 6 less than 20? 6 is indeed less than 20. So next what happens is, now that we know that 6 is less than 20, we're going to go to the if statement again. And with the if statement, we say 6 modulus 3. 6 modulus 3 is equal to 0 because 6 is divisible by 3. So hence we get 6 modulus 3 equals 1, which is false. So then the iteration of this for loop completes, and then we increase the value of k again. And similarly, this goes on. K's value becomes 8, 10, 12, after 14, 16, and 18. And that's when the loop ends. But what we need to understand is, what it's trying to say is that we know the values of k when we're iterating this loop will be 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. And now what we're trying to test is for every number that when it's divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1. So every value of k that when divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1, we're going to print out k. So we know that when 4 was divided by 3, it left a remainder of 1. We know that when 10 is divided by 3, it leaves a remainder of 1. And when 16 is divided by 3, it leaves a remainder of 1. So the correct answer to this question is B, 4, 10, and 16, because those are the 3 values of k in this for loop that when divided by 3 leave a remainder of 1. And the most important thing to getting this question done quickly is to quickly interpret the for loop and the if statement to understand what they're trying to say. They're saying we're counting up even numbers 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way to 18, and we're going to print out whatever of these k values when divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 1. And that's exactly what this program is doing. And that's what's going to happen for a lot of the multiple choice questions. They're going to give you some type of logic. You need to figure out the logic, identify the pattern, and then quickly finish the problem. And that's how you can ace multiple choice questions on the AP Computer Science test.